with Bellator 288, Nemkov versus Anderson 2, going down at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois, in my neck of the woods in this country. In the main event, we have Vadim Nemkov and Corey Anderson. In the co-main, we have Patricky Pitbull taking on Usman Nurmagomedov. Any other fights you want to highlight before we talk about these co-main and main events?
I'll just throw one out there real quick, just because obviously long episode, we can't talk about every fight here. As you guys will see when we get to the UFC, we had to narrow that down too. But just the one worth mentioning is the feature fight, which is Daniel Weichel taking on a debuting Timur Khizriev, who is 11-0 at this point, and definitely a guy with some hype coming in. He is favored over Weichel. Weichel has kind of been the guy for Bellator. He's been around for a while, obviously beating a bunch of dudes. He's almost like that litmus test of if you are going to matter in that division. So Khizriev will be faced with that test right out of the gate. So we'll see if he's a real deal guy to keep an eye on.
Okay. Cool, man. Any other names you want to throw out, Omar? Let's hop in. All right, in the co-main event of Bellator 288, we had the Bellator Lightweight World Championship. Patricky Pitbull versus Usman Nurmagomedov. Pitbull, the brother of Pitbull. Thanks, guys, for having the same nickname. Not confusing at all, ever. The 36-year-old out of Natal, Brazil, coming off of a win against Peter Queally back in November of 2021. He is 24-10 as a pro, 16 knockouts, 7 decisions. He will be standing across from the Russian Usman Nurmagomedov, the 24-year-old out of Dagestan. 15-0 as a professional. He is undefeated. 8 knockouts, 5 submissions, 2 decisions. Never been defeated in any way, shape, or form. Omar, let me start with you. Give us your take and your impression of this lightweight matchup for the title.
I don't know if it's a comparison bias or not, but I've never been super high on Patricky. I've been more of a fan of Patricio. And I do think Patricky is somebody who can be beat, somebody who can be controlled. And Usman, I think, is I think he's young. I think he's obviously an up-and-comer. He doesn't have nearly as many fights under his belt as Pitbull does. But I think he's got the tools to do it. I think he's going to be able to take him down. I think he's going to be able to use his wrestling to control the fight. And I think Pitbull's going to do a lot more trying to find a submission than he'll need to, and spend a lot of that time losing the fight as opposed to trying to get back up and trying to get back into the fight. So I'm going to go with Nurmagomedov by unanimous decision.
Mark?
Okay, so Usman is a huge favorite as the challenger here. He is minus 625.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's a bit wild considering, yes, he's 15-0, but he's beaten like one relevant guy, which is Chris Gonzalez in his last fight. So it's a little wild, but I get it because the talent is very obviously there, and I am going to pick him as well. Oh, sorry, and Pitbull's plus 425 on the other side. But yeah, I'm going to pick him as well. He's got a big shot here to kind of potentially become like one of the new faces of the organization for Bellator, and I think that he will. He's 4 inches taller than Patricky, which is significant. He's only got 1 inch of reach, which is interesting, but definitely the bigger guy. And yeah, I kind of agree with what Omar said. Like, Pitbull's a good fighter. I feel sometimes I almost brush him off a little bit too much, but I don't see him beating Usman. I'm sure he'll come out hot. I'm sure he'll be throwing bombs. Of course, he has power. We know that. It's not impossible for him to land one. But I think Usman does fine. I don't think he gets hit too big. I think he eventually drags Patricky down, puts him in his world. I think he wears on him. I think he frustrates him, and I think he chokes him out. I'm going to say Usman becomes the new champ, round 3, rear naked choke.
Okay. I like that pick, man. I got to say. I'm going to go with the undefeated guy. I agree with Omar. I have always been more impressed by Patricio Pitbull as opposed to Patricky for some reason. I like Usman to get it done. I'm going to say he's going to TKO him in the middle of the fight. I'll say third round.
Like it.
Okay, let's move on to the main event of the evening. Headline by the rematch and the final of the Bellator Light Heavyweight World Grand Prix Tournament, as well as the Light Heavyweight World Championship fight between Vadim Nemkov and Corey Anderson. So, we have Vadim Nemkov, the 30-year-old out of Russia, Belgorod, I think is the name of the town. He is 14-2 as a pro with 1 no contest, 9 knockouts, coming off of that no contest with Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson, overtime, the 33-year-old out of Rockton, Illinois, 16-5 with that 1 no contest, coming off of that no contest against Vadim Nemkov. Before that, he was on a 3-fight win streak going into that first fight, and now they're going to rematch. Nemkov, on the other hand, has only ever lost twice. And before that no contest with Corey Anderson, he was on a 9-fight win streak. I had to count that up real quick. Okay, Mark, start us off here. Give us your take and your pick of this Bellator Light Heavyweight Championship fight between Nemkov and Corey Anderson.
All right, so the odds have flipped this time, as expected, after what we saw in the first fight. Going into that first one, Nemkov was favored. He was minus 170. He's almost the exact opposite now. He is plus 185. Corey is minus 225. So, yeah, Corey gets another chance at becoming the man. He kind of already deserved to be the man based on how the last time was going, but now he's got to prove it again. He definitely seemed to have the superior game plan in the first fight, so we'll see how Nemkov adjusts now after having been in there with Corey for 15 minutes. Because, like I said, it seemed like Corey was the one who came in with a better sense of what he had to do in that first fight. Nemkov didn't really have much, so we'll see how he can adjust. Personally, I think he's got to kind of try to fight in somewhat of a bit of a point fighting style. I don't want to say point fighting, but he's got to stay on the outside, pick his spots, rely on the power that he does have, and hope he can land something flush, because unless a lot has changed, what we learned in that first fight is that as good of a wrestler as Nemkov is, if we hit that world, it's not going to matter because Corey Anderson is too good. And once Corey got the wrestling going last time and made Nemkov think about that, then all of a sudden the striking was much closer as well because Nemkov was thinking about both. So I picked Corey the first time. As much as I feel weird about him having to pull it off again, I can't go the other way after the first fight played out pretty much exactly how I thought it was going to. So I'm going to go Corey. I think he's operating at such a high level right now. I think he'll be safe on the feet. I think the wrestling's a huge factor. Nemkov could not get up from under Corey in the first fight. And if Corey doesn't get him out of there in the first 3 rounds or so, I could see the cardio becoming an issue for Nemkov as Corey just kind of wears on him. So I made the same pick last time. I'll make it again. We'll see if we get there this time. Corey Anderson, 4th round TKO.
Okay, Omar?
Yeah, so I used to pick against Corey Anderson on like the regular. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I think the last couple fights have swayed me into wanting to believe that Corey Anderson, can do it. So I'm going to go with Corey Anderson. I don't think he puts out Nemkov, but I do think he's able to win every round in that fight. So I'm going to go with unanimous decision.
UD for Beeston 25-8. Here we go.
What a terrible fucking nickname.
Worst ever. Thank God he changed it. Man, I'm a big Corey Anderson fan. I've become one over time. He seems like the most down-to-earth, humble guy. Honest, Midwest, blue-collar dude. And I think he's coming to his own. Something happened to him when he went over to Bellator. He's just happier with whatever money they're paying him. And yeah, he's kind of evolved into a newer form of himself. He's super confident. I think Nemkov is obviously a tall test for everybody at 205, and I've always been super high on Nemkov's skills. For some reason, I think Corey Anderson is going to get it done, and I will take him. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say he hands Nemkov his second career knockout loss, and I'll say he does it in the second round.